Hello and welcome to episode 313 of the Hooniverse podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Plucker. Joining me, as always, starting 13 episodes ago, is Mr. Ron Baugh. How are you doing?
As always, for the last 3 months, I'm swell.
Saw you a few hours ago.
Yeah, it's been ages since we caught up.
We had lunch today because I had to hand off that dash cam merch.
Yeah, man. Pretty good about that. I just started going through them.
Yeah, they're cool. We'll dive into that in a little bit more detail later in the episode. But again, shout out to Next Base for hooking it up. You holding up, what do you have, a little rosé?
Yeah, yes, sir. What's in your glass?
I just got a fresh shipment of beer from my buddy back in Boston. This is from a brewery called Treehouse, which is one of the best breweries in Massachusetts. So I'm very grateful for this.
Sweet.
This is their
in particular.
It's an IPA. It's 7.5%. It's called Green. They make one called Julius. That's like an orangey IPA. But I got a lot of good stuff in the fridge, courtesy of my boy Paul.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I decided to make it a wine day, man. I had wine at lunch. Had white wine at lunch.
Yeah.
Pinot, and now it's a little rosé.
Right. I earlier in the evening, I had a tequila with Topo Chico because I'm out of Fresca. So that's where we're at. But I wanted to switch it up for beer and drink some of this Massachusetts good shit because it actually relates to a question somebody asked, I think, on Instagram, which we'll get to later. So let's roll right in, kick it off top of the show with bringing trailer chatter. I really like doing this, picking a bad one and a good one. And oddly enough, the bad one is once again a Ford. So I don't know. I'm going to pause for a minute, though, because your screen is frozen. Nope.
Yeah.
You're back.
I turned on my second screen, so I think there was a hiccup there. So.
Okay, we're good then. We don't need that. That's fine.
I did that because I wanted to tune in and see. I didn't see one of the cars that you talk about, so I'm going to try and find it.
Okay. So first car, another Ford. It's a 2003 Ford Excursion, bone stock, $100,000.
That's outrageous.
It has 16,000 miles. It has the 7.3. What is that? Is that what do they call that engine?
Godzilla? No. The new 7.3 is the Godzilla.
Okay.
And if I don't know if this is accurate, but I think they just rounded up to 7.3 just for like historical acknowledgement of the original 7.3 turbo diesel that is in that Excursion. But I don't know much about diesels. I'm not going to pretend like it's some incredible motor or that it's I don't get that price.
Right. Bananas.
Yeah.
Absolutely bananas.
Super clean. I mean, it's like a brand new car. Right.
Even for 16,000 miles, it looks nicer than 16,000 miles. Yeah, however, 100%. It's a fucking Excursion. You could buy a brand new truck that would pull as good with nicer stuff inside,
100%.
Better suspension. But I mean, it's a 4x4. It's beefy, burly. I mean, I don't know if this is the guy who invented the Excursion I don't know.
Right, exactly.
My notes on this were like 16,000 miles, 7.3 liters, super clean, and the last note is literally, but bruh, I don't get it.
I'm with you.
The co-founder of Hooniverse, Tim O'Dell, even has an Excursion that he's kind of bro-dozered out on purpose as his tow pig rig camping truck. And it's beat to hell, and he loves it and all this stuff. But
I mean, they'll last forever. Like they're like the indomitable like offering from Ford back in the 90s, 2000s. But I
mean, it's not like this is like a Jonathan Ward icon Ford Excursion. There's nothing. I don't get it. It's so it's mind-boggling. I don't get it. So I'm going to move directly onto the good. Because I think it's
find this thing, man. This sounds super interesting. It sounds exactly like something I would want, but go ahead.
The good one?
Yeah.
1981 Volkswagen Rabbit Caddy. So the pickup truck for $15,500. Now that sounds like kind of a lot for a Volkswagen Rabbit for a Caddy, but it's funny because the number doesn't sound like a lot for anything on Bring a Trailer. But This one, 6.2 liter LS3 V8, 4L80E gearbox, rear wheel drive swapped, well caged, headers, exhaust, all the stuff you want. good to go. 15.5 for a fully built V8 swapped rear wheel drive Caddy. I mean, it's almost like they made the German version of an Australian car.
Right. I can't find this thing, man. So I'm
going to send you the link via the power of the text message live, real time.
There we go. I'm hating that I missed it because that sounds
did
like
you just find it?
Right up my alley. Like I said, I just want to see, stylistically.
Oh, it's ratty. It's ratty.
Oh, I almost don't care.
Right. But I think that the suspension fit of it sits nice. It makes it more of a sleeper, to be totally honest. I think the interior looks super clean with the 2 Sparkos.
Fuck yeah.
The way they did the gearbox almost looks drag car style. The gauges are nicely done in there. 2 simple gauges with plenty of info. That's like the most info out of 2 gauges I've ever seen.
Just 2 gauges, for sure.
The engine looks great in there.
I wouldn't call it ratty. I just say it's like original condition. Like it's like a straight up Survivor. It's not like rusty or like, mismatched panels or anything like that. It looks like it's just, been around for 40 years or so.
No, you're right. That's true.
Decently maintained. That thing's sick.
I like the wheels. I like it's got upgraded brakes from a Mark III Golf. It's funny. Well, Mustang 2 steering rack, which I think everybody kind of does in the hot roddy world.
Exactly.
Nice Momo steering wheel, looks pretty clean underneath. It's got an 8.8-inch rear end from a Ford Explorer, which is also kind of hot roddy. 3-inch exhaust. I mean, awesome.
It's in California, or at least it's registered.
It's titled and registered in California. But at the bottom of the auction, it does say the vehicle has not been refereed by BAR and as a result cannot be sold to a private party. However, I don't see anything in this listing talking about if it was originally a diesel Volkswagen Caddy. So if it was, you're good to go.
There you go.
And it says clean Carfax and California title. So I feel like it must have been a diesel. They're just not advertising the fact that you're fine. Like they have to tell you that you're not fine, but you're fine.
Right. I don't get the private party sale though. I don't understand why.
I don't know. I haven't seen that. That's probably just them covering their ass so that if someone like down the road registers it and they're like, then a smog referee goes,
told you, bro. Told you.
Yeah. A smog referee goes, that doesn't sound correct. And which I guess technically they could do, but still. 15.5 for a fully sourced, ready to rock. That's rad.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Assuming everything works as it should and it runs properly, I'm sure it just fucking rips. And
right.
I think that thing is perfectly cool. It's like a really cool sleeper too.
The super sleeper. The seller says he wouldn't hesitate. I mean, this is granted the seller saying it, but the seller, I know. But the seller said he could hop in and do a 1,200-mile road trip in it tomorrow. He's driven it to and from Vegas. He would be happy to road trip it, but he's answering seller questions. Speaking of bring a trailer and seller questions, did you see the Superbird that Tyler Hoover bought?
I did.
Did you see the video where I'm walking through all the things wrong with it?
Yeah, but ultimately it wasn't that bad. Like
still,
his clickbait title said, "I got hosed or I got ripped off." But ultimately, the car is a legit Hemi car. Like it's all there. It's well built. It's just some shoddy stuff that needed attention.
But the other thing too, like the guy said, it's all this signed NASCAR stuff, and it's like, oh, the guy lost it. And now he's not answering his questions.
The transporter must have taken it.
Right. The transporter's like, nah. And then the suspension in the front was like, that's a weird situation that they had clamped. It was just like a bunch of bullshit that should have been easily fixed before the car was sold. Which that's the sort of stuff that worries me that there's something else hiding. Car looks rad. Yeah. His guy clearly knows the cars.
Right. He totally lucked out. Like he could have been completely hosed. That thing. I mean, the seller did disclose that it had basically been rebuilt, like with new floors, like new half body because it had been wrecked. So it wasn't like they hid like the major issues, but the major issues were actually repaired, correctly.
True.
So it wasn't that big of a deal in the end. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%. When little shit like that starts popping up, It's like, oh man,
like why doesn't the horn work?
Right.
Why doesn't the horn work?
The fucking Roadrunner horn of all horns.
It's one of the most important parts. Yeah. And then one of the commenters pointed out too, like, well, that like clearly the dash has been replaced because those cars didn't have AC, and that's an AC dash. I'm like, oh shit, we got Mopar Man in
but
the comments.
Said it was like a vintage air, like aftermarket.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Yeah. I hope he, for his sake, like, I don't really care, but I mean, I hope for his sake, just because I also love wing cars, I hope it turns out his guy's like, yeah. And at the end of the video, he's like, we can fix the whole car for like, it was like under $6,000 when you just paid 130 for it. Like, and Tyler clearly has shitloads of money.
Right.
So it might've even been less than that. I don't remember. But
I'm not shedding any tears for him, but I'm happy.
You're right. Exactly.
Not getting totally ripped off.
Right, exactly. Now, talking about cars.
The other thing was that I think he said he bought it off Bring a Trailer, and they actually credited him their fees. They did and back $5,000 because
they ate.
He wasn't happy with the sale, obviously.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if that's a matter of his celebrity. I don't think so.
I'd like to believe it isn't.
Yeah, you know, obviously, you know, they're not going to take a chance on him bad mouthing the auction and the auction house. But I still think they would have done that if it were you or me or anybody else. Like,
I agree. And
I also said they didn't want to be associated with a bad sale, or they didn't want to take profit from a bad sale, which
right.
I commendable. Like, you know, again, not crying any tears for them. They'll be all right too. But
yeah, and they're probably not going to deal with that seller going forward.
Right.
Just for like the little ticky tack shit that adds up, and I mean, it's really annoying that you would have to deal with it at that level. I mean, it's not the most expensive car in BAT, but that's a shitload of money for a vehicle. Right. So, and then, of course, the publicity and all that stuff factors in. But I agree with you that I think they would have made it right anyway.
Yeah.
Because I've heard on the seller side, it's tough on the seller side because they want to really try to push no reserves. You know, I've heard they're aggressive about that until you like really put your foot down. Right. But I'm sure on the buyer side, they want to be like, no, please continue to buy cars, cars. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, jumping over to a topic that just hit me because I've been spending a week with it. Are there any cars that you used to be interested in and now you don't care about? And I ask you that question, and I'm going to preface this by saying it's all about the CLS 450 I'm driving this week. Yeah. It feels like the rest of the lineup has moved on. Mercedes, $93,000 is tested. It doesn't feel like a $93,000 car. It looks fine. It drives fine. It's nothing special. Right. When there are things in the lineup that are special, and I don't get it. So, like, I think you agree with me on that car because we talked about it a little bit. But is there any other cars you can think of that, like, you used to be interested in, now you don't care?
For sure. And I'll answer the question, but I just gotta say that to spend $93,000 in Mercedes money, a better option just drove by, and it sounded so mean and so sick. Was a GLC 63.
Oh.
And I don't know, like the updated version with the new lights, like I was riding next to one on the freeway earlier today, and that thing just looks mean as hell. And like, I think that would be a better alternative, at least for me personally, than a CLS with a V6 all-wheel drive, like whatever.
Inline six. So it's even
inline six, really?
It even has, it's even smoother.
Sure.
And more boring.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm sure it sounds better though, but
no, it doesn't.
You hear it.
You can't because it's because it's twin turbocharged, so there's no noise. It's like an inline six is already smooth, inherently smooth, and then you add two turbos to it and a 48 volt mild hybrid system. There is no noise from that car.
All right,
you can't get it in rear wheel drive anymore.
Right.
You can't get it in AMG anymore.
Right.
What are we doing here?
That's just not sexy. We'll come back to that because I have more to say about that too.
Okay.
But, to answer your question, the car that I used to be very interested in, lusted after, but now I'm kind of like whatever about, would be the Audi twins RS6 and RS7, like the current generation C8. Like I was, just like everybody else, like, we'd never gotten a taste of RS6. So it was just like, hell yeah, we finally get it. It's going to be amazing. Like, we're going to sell a ton of them. I'm going to do a bunch of wheels on them. And like, they're still like really popular in the aftermarket. Like, guys, that is a crowd that likes to modify their cars, like whether it's exhaust, tuning, wheels, suspension, whatever, but they're just not attractive. And like, I thought it was a design that would grow on me, but like the last generation, obviously I'm partial to, but like, I can't get over the styling of the new cars. It's almost like a C8. It's just like overly styled, too angular. There's just too much going on. They're bloated. They're really they're really fucking humongous. Like,
Yep.
you know, they come factory with 22s, and like, I'm not against big wheels, obviously, but like, you know, it's like, where do you go to that from there? Like, I'm not about to put 24s on my, you know, wagon or super sedan, you know, four-door
that's a
coupe,
good
whatever.
answer.
But yeah, like they're not quicker than the last generation. It's like same carryover drivetrain with just some tweaks. So it's like they've just kind of lost their luster to me, and like where I would have died for one like a year and a half ago. Now I'm like, like I see him, I see him increasingly on the road, and it's just like, like.
So the problem for the RS6, and we did get a sedan one year. We just never got the wagon. In 2003 we got the sedan, but the wagon, Forbidden Fruit, we're all, you know, blowing our loads that the fucking RS6 Avant is finally coming, and then I finally got to drive it, and it's good. The problem for it is that the Porsche Sport Turismo exists and the Mercedes E63 exists, and it wipes the floor with the Audi. Our friend Johnny Lieberman did a comparison of all three of them, and he came to the same exact conclusion. The Audi's good, and it cannot hold a candle to the other two. And I almost felt bad when I did a video review of that car, because I was so excited, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is it then. And then when you drive an E63, you're like, this is an assassin in a tailored suit. And you drive the Porsche, and you're like, this is a 911 wagon. This is perfection, dream car stuff. And the Audi does none of that. You're like, this is another pumped up Audi. There's nothing else special about it. I think the styling was just, Audis are always better when their styling is a little more subtle. Which they always used to do. Like BMW and Mercedes would be the ones that would go a bit bonkers, and then Audi would be like, nah, I don't need all that shit. And then you'd hear an exhaust note, you'd be like, oh, something's going on there. When the RS6 Avant is like, look at me, I'm going to pretend I'm like a JDM kid for a month, and it's just I
don't even know what you mean by that, but I get it somehow.
It's playing. It's like bumping Eurobeat, and everyone's like, just turn the music down, man. Like, your average customer doesn't need to hear that shit right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
We did when we were 20 years younger, but we've aged. The car didn't age with us. It's appealing to our child, which works for some cars. And again, the RS6 Avant is a good car, but it's not that. That's a great answer. Car used to be interested. Now you don't care. I don't care, but it is a good answer for the question.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I mentioned earlier in the show that we met to have lunch so I could hand off some dash cam stuff. Our friends at Nextbase shipped us the dash cams. So they sent us there. Oh, look at you. Look at that. Well done. So
my first sponsorship.
They're not, they haven't, let me clarify that they're not paying us to review these, but they've given us the equipment for free. So we didn't pay anything for the dash cams, and they gave us a shitload of dash cams. Where we have enough where I might be able to give some away, which we'll figure that out later. They want to come on the podcast too once we get these installed and do it a little bit. I and myself and Ron are both going to be installing the top of the line 622 model that he was just holding up. They wanted me to test it partly because they found that off-roaders have been using them in their vehicles because it has image stabilization built in. And they say they're like, we can't say it's as good as GoPro, but like even though I'm saying it out loud, they're like, probably don't say this part out loud. They're like, it's as good as GoPro, but we can't say it's as good as GoPro. So I'll be testing that one. But we have the 622, the 522, the 422, the 322, the 222, and the base 122. I'm going to put the base model, the 122, in the Jaguar behind me. I'm going to put the big dog in the Montero so I can like fling it off a cliff or something, and just jump it and see how it does. And I don't know what your plans are with your dash cams.
I don't know, man. I think I'm going to put the big dog, the 622, in the Audi, and I got a 222, and I think I'll put that in the Tahoe because that honestly, like, it's like the 622 I should hardwire. So while my Audi is apart at the body shop, with the headliner down, like I think that's the way to go with that. And obviously my higher tech card probably deserves a higher tech camera,
right?
But Yeah, the other one I'll put in the Tahoe, and like I said earlier, I don't think I really want any sort of dash cam in the Mustang. I don't want that any of those trips documented necessarily.
Right.
Um,
you put any videos you put like they do in movies. You put the sepia filter over it and be like, it's in Mexico.
Right. Yeah, just update location for every video to Mexico.
Yeah.
But no, I'm super excited about this, man. I was just looking at the features and like not to like sell something that I haven't even experienced or used yet, but like there's some super cool stuff. Like it's got like almost like an OnStar, like an SOS, like so that if there's like, you know, they detect an accident or something, they can call, you know, emergency services. It's got like GPS tracking, so that if, I don't know, you fucking go off a cliff or you go off roading, you get lost, like, you know.
I think it's also if your car gets stolen.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's all sorts of cool features, man. So I'm really excited about that. Like,
yeah,
you know, I honestly haven't paid attention to dash cams,
right,
up until
you went viral.
That viral video. But it really is a convenience, and it's like there's been so many times since then. You know, obviously when my car got broken into, but there's been so many times in the last couple of months where I'm like, damn, a dash cam would be really helpful right now, or really hilarious. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. Thanks. I've wanted a dash cam forever because people drive like dog shit. So again, I mean, it sounds like if we're sounding a little bit advertorial at the moment, we're not getting paid to do this, but we are excited.
Genuine excitement to.
It's excitement, yeah. That's what it is.
Money on something that I would have spent money on. Yeah.
Right, and I've wanted a dash cam for a while, and now because I'm a spoiled automotive journalist, I don't have to pay for it, which is very nice. And but. We'll tell you how.
I will tell you
if it sucks. We'll tell you.
Like I had an owl cam in my Tahoe for a while, and like I was thrilled with it, and it was great, and like it you know sensed motion or glass break, like if the car was parked and off, and it was powered by OBD2, so it was like super simple setup, and the service was free, and like you know I think I don't remember like how much video storage you had, but then the company changed hands. They sold the company, and then the cameras were inactive for like a month while they changed everything over, and then it became a subscription service. You had to pay $20 a month to have all of those notifications and the cloud backup and all of that shit. And I begrudgingly accepted it. I was pissed as hell because I paid like $400 for the camera. I went through all of that shit, and then I'm like, all right, well, you kind of got me by the fucking toe, so all right, like here's your $20 a month. And
right.
Literally the day that I updated the camera, started the service, I moved my truck across the street to the parking garage, same parking garage where my Audi got broken into. And somebody wedged the door open, didn't break any glass, but wedged the door open and stole the dash cam, and that was it. And that was it. It was like I hadn't had it working for an hour after the updates and everything else, and somebody just stole it. And like it updates you, like, you know, give you a notification when it powers on again.
Yeah.
The next time it powered on was in Kansas City 2 days later, and there was no retrievable footage. It was just like, oh no, it was like, oh shit, like, you know, you could tell like whoever like had it like realized what was happening when they powered it on, and that was it. Like, and like they're supposed to send you a free camera, of course. That shit got like mired in red tape and bullshit, and so I never got a free camera. They charged me for 3 months of service that I didn't get. I couldn't get a refund. I had to do a chargeback on that. It was just bullshit. Fucking pain in the ass. So
also, I hope that we're not.
If these cameras are a pain in the ass, I will tell you.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're not talking about this, and they're like, "Oh, our subscription's $40 a month." You know, like we haven't even looked yet. We're like
here's your camera, jerk.
I haven't even looked. I haven't had them say to me like, "Oh, and if you need to do the subscription part, let us know about this." So like, I'm assuming there isn't one.
Well, I mean, the fact that they gave us memory cards, like, I mean, that's not the best solution, because I mean, if somebody stole the camera, they'd steal the memory cards if there's no cloud service. But, you know, I would honestly probably be okay with that without a subscription service.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down with that. I agree with you. On to our own car stuff too, because that was the segue, because that was, you know, that's where those are going. Montero gauge cluster still out. Roof rack being built. Going to order a clutch. Yeah. I thought I said that in the last episode.
I know you had plans to. Did you?
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. Oh yeah. Gamma VD. Maybe I didn't talk about it. So Gamma VD makes I thought I did because Gamma Viti makes custom racks, and it was cheaper than the existing, like the cost wise, it's cheaper than Front Runner's rack that I could have just ordered. But it's going to have a light bar built into the front. It's going to have tabs for future light bars in the back if I wanted to do that. The reason I'm getting is for an awning. But I'm excited about that. But the Montero is still down while the gauge cluster is still out. I'm going to order a clutch soon because I think it's nearly time for that. And I'd like to learn how to do a clutch job. But this fucking stupid car behind me,
whoa,
the Jag, sorry. It's out of oil again. Yeah. So that was
no
the reason
leaks, there's no puddles, there's no smoke.
There's no puddles. There's no smoke. I just driving it again, and just over time, oil pressure is dropping. I was like, man, what the fuck? So I let the car sit for a few days. I checked the oil, and it was like at the bottom of the dipstick. I was like, so I'm going to pull all the plugs. I'm going to check the plugs to see if any of them are black. I don't know if there's something where it's feeding it back in and burning up inside the engine, but it's
check your PCV system, but
yeah, that too. The breather, if there's a breather or whatever, and
it's still like, you're going to see smoke. Like if you're burning oil, you're going to see noticeable smoke. Like
right. There's no smoke
at that rate. That's crazy.
It is crazy because
how many miles have you driven?
Like none. And it was like a full oil change. So it was like,
only thing I can think of is it's something that gets warm. It's like some sort of rubber or some sort of gasket that, like,
could be,
the metal between it expands and it just rips, like maybe
Yeah.
from the oil pan or somewhere on the bottom end. And like,
Yeah.
it's not detectable. It doesn't happen when it sits, but while you're driving and there's oil pressure, I don't know, man. That's weird.
Yeah. It's funny because in my head, I daydream about like, oh, what can you do? Because I know the 350 TPI isn't like a. In the day, they did some stuff to like hot rod those engines a little bit, but then you didn't really do anything until like the later LS stuff came along.
Right.
Because I'm like Googling, oh, well, should I get bigger throttle body? Should I do this? Oh, should we do cams? Like, no, motherfucker, fix your oil problem. like don't. My whole plan for buying this was like not to throw money at it, and like because it's.
But when you have to fix something, it's an opportunity to upgrade it and like,
that's true.
Make it better. Like you got to take advantage of those opportunities. Like,
yeah, but I don't want this like sitting there like, all right, Mylodon oil pan underneath and fucking dump the 700 R4 for a 4L80E, because the trans actually probably needs to be rebuilt at some point too.
I'm not advised that either. Yeah, I wouldn't like try and go hypo with it and like hot rod it. And
I don't need to do that. Yeah, honestly, if I just put like a little bit louder exhaust on it, I'd be like, oh, cool, it's way faster. Like in my head.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. The car sounds good, but it's pretty quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet.
Plus, like with your bar certification, can you even like beyond exhaust, can you fuck with like intake? Like
I think as long as it would have like cats and shit. Oh, okay. Intake, I don't know.
Yeah,
intake, I don't know.
Like a throttle body or something like that. Like, would it have to have a card number like for whatever that motor came out of? Like, I'm assuming it was a Corvette.
Honestly, dude, I have no fucking clue. I'm actually really curious about when I have to smog this again, if they're going to be like, what? No, the person who sold this to you totally lied. All that shit was fake.
That is a huge concern. Like, I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize that like certification, because then you're just assed out like me.
And then if that happens, it'll have been a fun experiment, and I'll sell it out of state and be like, oof, that really sucked. I don't think that's the case, but we'll see what happens.
Not for sale to private party.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Yeah, 100%. This time it'll be for real though. Man, it's funny. I look at the car though, and because it has the inboard rear brakes, there's like no brake dust on those back wheels, and there's so much brake dust on those front wheels. The BBS basket weaves, those are basket weaves, not LMs, right? LMs are a different wheel.
Yeah.
Because they have the chrome outer, which doesn't look very chrome at the moment. This whole thing. I think this is my first black car.
Really?
And as a kid growing up, I always like, if I'm ever rich, it's going to be only black cars. Like it'll be a Porsche 959 and it'll be a fucking Ferrari this, and it'll be a Land Rover this, and it'll be blah, blah, blah. I fucking hate black cars.
My Tahoe is my first black car. And like, I always say, like, a black car is only clean once. Like
once.
The day you drive it off the lot. Like if it's clean then, like that's the last time.
It's
I'll wash
insane.
my car at the car wash. I'll dry it. By the time I'm done at the back, and the tile is very easy to wash and dry. Like it's just slab
Square.
tight, and there's not many nooks and crannies, so it takes almost no time to dry that thing. By the time I'm done and at the back, there's already a layer of dust on the hood. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, this is impossible. Like,
dude, I wash mine in my driveway and then pull it in, and I come in the next morning and I'm like, and the car's moved 10 feet, and it's like, how is it dusty? Yeah. It's insane. It's fucking crazy. And but when they're clean, they look damn good. But man, I get why people buy gray. Like
100%.
But whatever. The wheels. I just looked down. That's what made me go on this little rant here. Granted, though, I could just take a microfiber, because if you wash your car really well to begin with, it is easier to wash it again down the road, which is what people like Larry Casilla preach and McGuire's preaches, which is true. Like I can just wipe that wheel off with a microfiber and it'll look instantly so much cleaner. So there's that.
But also, I mean, with vintage wheels, like it's probably less effective, but like if you get aftermarket wheels or like even a new set of wheels, like, factory wheels, like I would recommend ceramic coating them because it keeps most of that stuff from sticking and it makes it just release with water, 9 times out of 10. Like I haven't done that to my personal wheels, but
they do that. They ceramic coat wheels too.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. And like shit just hoses off. Like, otherwise, like I would never ever recommend anybody use a wheel cleaner. Like I'm sure Larry's stuff is like non-hazardous, like to the wheel surface, but like most wheel cleaners are like super acidic and like they're intended for raw aluminum or steel or whatever. And it's just like, if you have any sort of like delicate finish, then it's going to be ruined by most wheel cleaners. So I think even just soap and water.
I think he even talks about how like acidity
like
levels
in his balance for a woman.
Yeah, no, he talks about acidity levels in his stuff. Right. So yeah, and with the stuff he's cleaning, I'm sure like he's doing McLaren F1 GTRs on the lawn at Pebble.
Right. That's what I say. I fully trust that he's done his homework in his chemistry for his product, but like I wouldn't use most over the counter like wheel cleaners and stuff, like or off the shelf stuff. Like I just wouldn't.
We should get,
water. But like most designs now you need like a brush, like to do it properly. Like you should have like a wheel kit, like separate from what you wash. The rest of.
I like they use like not painter brushes, but like little like brushes to like agitate and stuff. Like not like the little like brrr, like the fuzzball thing, but like actually getting in there with your hand. I want to get one of those. Yeah, because it's a lot of spokes on that wheel.
It's necessary for a wheel like that. It's got all sorts of little pockets and crevices.
Any update? So your Audi is still
in the body shop. 3 weeks later, we finally got an estimate last week. Body shop says it's not enough, but they've already gotten a check, so they've started work. They started ordering parts. So I don't know. It's $6,000 in the estimate, and like even the adjuster was like, "This will probably go up." So I'll keep you posted. But I don't know. It's just a pain in the dick. And then my Tahoe, I went to go drive it this weekend. I wanted to go on a cruise, and I've had like a loose control arm bolt, and
I'm laughing because I already know the story, but please tell it because this is great.
I know it's not funny. It sucks, but whatever. It's a very small part, and I've already ordered the replacement. I'll get it tomorrow, and I'll install it, and I'll be on the road. But yeah, basically this control arm bolt, like the nut came off and the bolt backed out, and the control arm is just like hanging there. And I haven't really driven the truck since I got it from the shop with no work done. So I'm just like super bummed. Like, it's just, damn, dude. Like I was on a high for like a minute for like a couple weeks there. I was like, I got 4 out of 5 cars running. Like I can jump in 3 of them and drive them anytime. And like, now I'm like, thank God for the company car, because otherwise like I'd have nothing. So,
and by the way, when you pulled up for lunch, you were broy as fuck, the way you like whipped into the spot and like boom, slammed. He's in a lifted like Gladiator with big ass wheels and tires, and he drove it as
138. But dude, that thing is, and that was in Crystal Cove, by the way, which is like not exactly lifted truck or Jeep friendly, but
no, it's
that thing is like super maneuverable. Like I'm really impressed. Like it drives to me like I've never really spent much time driving a stock Jeep, but it drives like a stock vehicle as far as I'm concerned. Like, yeah, like you're way up, and yeah, like the stance is way wider, but it's really easy to maneuver. It's got a great turning radius, and like for as long as it is, like the only trouble I have with parking is that I typically don't put the passenger side mirror down to the wheel level. So I think I'm straight because I'm looking at the hood, which is tapered. Oh. And I don't think about that because that's really all you can see. Like that thing doesn't really have fenders.
Right.
So when the hood is tapered, I'm looking straight. I'm like, okay, I'm straight. And then I get out and like my front end is like 2.5 feet further out from the curb than my rear. And I'm like, go back, do this all again.
If someone
saw I just run into the curb. I literally just run into the curb with the front wheel. And I'm like, straighten up, and now I'm good.
If someone saw that truck, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's how this guy parks every fucking where.
What an asshole.
But keep going with the control arm.
Yeah, so the damn thing, like the control arm is loose, and like the last time I drove it was to the Hoonigan toy drive thing, whatever, a couple weekends ago, and like I was hitting the brakes, and like I knew something was weird, and like it wouldn't self-correct, and I just knew something was wrong. So that's why before I went out for this cruise I was going to go out on Sunday. I went down and checked the control arm bolt on Saturday, and sure enough, it's like backed out and it's just laying there, and like I'm gonna have to jack it up and jack up the control arm and apply pressure to get it back in place, but. Not a big deal in the end, but it's just frustrating.
It's frustrating because you took it to a place and said, check that.
Yeah. I really was trying to keep my blood pressure in check, so I wasn't up. But I was like, please address this. Like, it is a concern. You're doing some other stuff, but like I asked several times, like, did you guys check that? Was that cool? Like, everything good? And like, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah. So. I don't know, man. I'm just like, I really need a space where I can work on my own shit so that I have that peace of mind of knowing, even though I'm a crack, like, mechanic, like, I'm not like, I wouldn't ever work on anybody else's car. At least working on my shit, like, I know that every bolt was turned, every bolt was torqued. Like, I just at least have attention to detail to that stuff because it is my own life, and like, other people sometimes just don't care. Like, everybody's got some shit going on, and it's like, you don't know, like they might have a bad day and like forget to get distracted. Like, there's a lot going on in a shop environment. So it's like, at least when I do something, I know where the problem is going to arise.
Right. No, that's a fair outlook on this. It may be too kind at times, but I mean, I guess when to bring the hammer down, and maybe there are times when you're like, you listen, all right. No to that. I'm going to take this last sip, and then I'm going to grab another beer, and we're going to dive into questions.
Let's get it.
All right. This is from another beloved Massachusetts brewery called Trillium. This is a double dry hopped Fort Point Pale Ale. Shibuya.
Sounds
a lot of stuff.
Amazing for somebody other than me.
Right. Delicious. Okay.
I literally last time I went like to like a brewery, like I don't even know if it was a brewery. I think it was like a brewery's like
satellite
at Long Beach Grand Prix.
Oh.
I was just like, give me the opposite of an IPA, whatever that is.
Yeah. It'd probably be a wheat or a stout for sure. Which I love those too. All right. Twitter. We're going to Twitter. We're also doing Instagram questions because I actually got a fair bit of questions from that. So we'll see. But we'll start with
Instagram friends who
Twitter, right?
Like, I got 2 questions out of 700 people that saw that story.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Superset Greg at Superset Greg. New WRX, good, bad? Every review says good. I talked to people who've driven it, and they agree good. It seems the one failing of the vehicle is the fact that you can't get the performance package with the manual. It's only on the CVT, which seems like a massive
CVT, not even a DCT. Jesus.
No. Subaru is invested in the CVT. They're the only automaker who does it well, because the Forester Wilderness, the CVT didn't bother me at all when I drove that, and we drove it really well. But in a WRX, it's a different story.
Yeah.
But everybody said it drives really well. It's on the new global platform. And our friend on Instagram who does the renderings, the really good renderings. Did you see his post?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just hit your computer?
Damn. Hit my desk with my knee. Oh my God. It's like a funny bone in my knee.
God, we're getting old too. So he did a rendering of it where he colored in the cladding to match the body colors, lowered it and put it on TEs, and it looks fucking awesome.
He kind of disguised the Gandini-esque wheel arches. I was like, what did they just
the Periscopo fucking wheel arches. Yeah.
What did they take a Urus and miniaturize it?
Yeah. No, every report says the new WRX is good, and I'm very much looking forward to driving it. Untitled Car Show at Untitled Car Show. Hi, how you doing? Fiero, great car or greatest car? And before we answer that, I like that Myron Vernus, noted wonderful weird car collector, wrote, I can answer that. No and no. Cool cars, though. Where do you stand on the Fiero?
I don't know, man. Like, the later
where I stand.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I don't have much of an opinion on them, but like, the later cars were cooler looking. And I mean, I get that it was probably like, I don't know, it was probably like a really cool, unique thing, right? Like, I imagine, I mean, I lived through the 80s, but I was not a part of the car buying public when the Fiero debuted. So I don't know what perception was like, amongst adults and able and willing buyers, but that had to been super cool for, GM, a domestic manufacturer, to offer a mid-engine vehicle. I mean, I feel like the fate of most Fieros was kit car stardom. So that made them a laughingstock. But if it hadn't been for like the kit car cottage industry, I think they might have seemed cooler and they might have evolved. And obviously we don't have Pontiac today, but like we might have had a Fiero for longer than we did. But I don't know.
I had a friend in high school who loved them. And I think he still likes them to this day, though he's a Ford guy now. Actually, I think I showed you pictures of his Fox body with the SN95 interior swap.
Yeah.
But because there's like a Formula Fiero that people really like, and I don't know what the difference is. Like, yeah, the idea that GM.
That's what I'm thinking of. That was cool. It had like almost like the honeycomb taillights. It was like,
is that what it was?
Like it was probably like early 90s, like 91, 93, something like that. And then they had like honeycomb wheels, like BBS style wheels. Like they looked cool. Better. Yeah, but like I'm sure the interior was trash. I'm sure the driving dynamics were trash. Like,
but I wonder if that was some engineers be like, yo, because they wanted to make the Corvette mid-engine for rumor says decades. Duntov is like, no, we're doing like 62. Right. But I wonder if the Fiero was like their concession where we're like, well, let's make this little one, and this fucking thing catches fire. We'll bring it up the chain, and they're like, oh, that's what that is. All right, no, Corvette is front engine. Fuck you.
Yeah, this is mid. No,
I don't give a shit about the Fiero. I'm sorry, Untitled. I don't care at all.
Yeah, I mean it's like so many other nameplates I could like.
So many
care more about.
Right. I wish the Buick Wildcat would come back more than a fucking Fiero. Boring.cars at boring_cars. With the interest in the latest The Grand Tour Special, will we see a rise in French imports for enthusiasts? Not in America. I don't think so. And I didn't watch it yet, but I'm sure it's funny because I know they do something with French cars called Carnage et Trois or something like that.
We talked about French cars last time. I don't give a fuck.
I know we didn't know French cars last time. Yeah, you're asking the wrong podcast here. There are a handful.
Know or care enough.
Well, there are like a few that I would love. I took a ride once with Alex Roy in his Citroen SM. And it was hilarious. We hit a speed bump and didn't feel it. And then there's the DS, which is just insanely awesome. And then the Peugeot 205 GTI, which I mentioned last time, is very cool. And that's where my knowledge goes. Boo! Exactly. Yeah, exactly. 205 GTI is cool. 205 GTI is cool. It's like because it's like an alternate universe Volkswagen GTI in my head. It's like, what if France did better than Germany? And so
barely care about a Volkswagen GTI, much less a French version.
All right. Fair play. Craig on McBride at Craig on McBride. Have you seen the new Ozark International Raceway, 3.87 mile road course through the Ozark foothills in southwest Missouri? Also is a dirt course and rally courses. Awesome track configurations too. I have not. Sounds awesome. I assume Jason Bateman is there to greet you as you walk in.
And Run the Jewels plays as you leave.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but they ended last season with Run the Jewels.
Oh God, yeah, dude. I might have even. I don't know. Maybe I didn't text you, but that ended, and I was like, yeah.
That was exactly my expression. I literally took a picture of my face. I was just like, I was stuck like that, just like wide open mouth, like eyes as big as could be. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But it was so dope that it was set to Run the Jewels.
So sick. No, because I sent you. So for those wondering why we're geeking about this, Ron is friends with Mike Render, one half of Run the Jewels, and then I have since come to love their music. And even what did I send you? Oh, that there's a great cartoon for adults called Invincible, and anytime this one bad guy is on screen, his music is always Run the Jewels, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. And for those of you who like comic book style cartoon, it's like The Boys was a comic. So The Boys is not comic book. Man, we're getting all way off course here, but that's fine. The Boys on Amazon is about comic book superheroes, but it's live action, and it's what if like some of them were bad, which is a great premise right there. That's a sentence that all you need. And then Invincible is a similar idea, but animated with amazing voice actors. And then there's a one character in it where I was like, that is Run the Jewels, or that's at least LP in one of the songs. And then I was looking like, yeah, Run the Jewels, LP, blah, 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 running through it. So yes, for Ozarks, whatever. When that was at the end of last season, it was.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like,
ooh.
Yeah.
They were the soundtrack to the closing scene of the season. It was amazing.
It was amazing. It was so amazing. Yeah. So no, Craig on. We have not. That's an old podcast joke we used to call it. That he's a longtime listener. So thank you.
I've heard that track is amazing or will be amazing, but that's it. It's just.
3.87 miles is a fucking big track.
Big fucking track.
I've driven the full layout at Thunderhill, and it's just so much track where you're like, I am on a road trip, because that's 5 miles.
I hope I make it back.
Like, because if you have a mechanical on the far side of the track, you're fucked. Like right. you're towing. Put on a podcast. Mm-hmm. Put on this podcast. Veronica Rosnowski at She Drives a GTV, which is a great Twitter handle. Of the vintage racing classes, which is your favorite to watch at the track? I love a Can-Am car, which is a wonderful answer. Ron, do you have a choice of vintage?
I do. Like every year, I've been maybe 5 out of the last 6 years to the Rolex Monterey Historics, and it's an easy choice for me. It's like the Trans Am, like 67 to 72 or whatever. Like there's just nothing better than the sound of those cars just, literally beating the pavement and just like pushing each other out of the way. Like, it's like the most rudimentary, but also like, I don't know, the engineers, race engineers back then were like so tricky. Like, there was like so many subtle things that they did to make those cars perform better and like gain an advantage. But like you put it next to a stock car and it's like, the untrained eye will be hard. Like it'll be hard for them to see the differences and see like, how they're like stretched and pulled and like how much meaner the stance is. But like those cars just look and sound perfect.
Yes. No, I that's probably my answer too, vintage Trans Am, because I was just going to say muscle cars, but that's not a real answer. So that's kind of like, and the crazy thing is how they sound off throttle, where it's like,
right.
Yeah. It's so good. And then the only other answer, because even though I don't like modern F1, vintage F1,
sure,
unreal, unreal sounding cars. But I also really like, and I guess at Velocity Invitational they did Minis versus Mustangs, which is super cool. But at Goodwood Revival they do something similar where it was like there's Minis and Lotus Cortinas with
Jaguars.
But then there's like it was what's his name, Mr. Audi, Tom Christensen, what the fuck is his name?
I think that's right, Christensen.
He was in a Galaxy or something like that. He was in a Galaxy XL and just like going through the chicanes, the cars like this, leaning
swaying whole.
Dude,
I love that everybody's sideways. Everybody's like 4-wheel drift around every like corner. Like they're just all out at Goodwood Revival. That's probably the coolest racing event to watch. Like as a spectator, especially if you're not like on the premises, like if you're going to watch something on television, like that's probably the most entertaining racing there is.
Yes,
like seeing
I agree with that.
cars slide and get pushed really hard. People wreck Ferrari 250 GTO.
They don't care. They want to win.
Yeah. Like they push.
It's awesome. It's so good. It's so good. Good question. David Obachowski, Peugeot, Vaxhaver, and Vaxgator at David O from NJ. Please discuss Ford's decision to do that thread. I'm assuming this is a reference to Twitter, and I don't know what thread you're talking about.
I've seen a couple of them. It's just like, I don't know. They're like basically just like talking down like the car buying public for like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like I don't even remember exactly what it was, but they're basically just like tongue in cheek, like poking fun at people that are like traditionalists because they're embracing electrification.
Oh,
they're
really?
Basically calling us dinosaurs for not accepting it. Like,
but they're the ones who can't deliver cars on time because there's.
I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know. I didn't see the thread.
But I didn't realize there was that many tweets about it. I don't know how many tweets they issued or like what this thread is, but
well,
it's annoying. Anytime anytime a car manufacturer thinks they're cute and like wants to like poke fun at the public, like I think it's thin ice because
yes,
everybody's so polarized and like Ford versus Chevy, BMW versus Mercedes,
right?
Like, it's like everybody has their favorite, and it's fine to embrace your loyal fan base. But to alienate people, like I just think it's foolish, especially now when everything is so polarized. It's just like, dude, just sell cars. Like, try and appeal to everybody. Like make a car that is undeniably cool and desirable.
Right. I agree. I haven't seen the thread, and part of the reason was I deleted the app from my phone. I didn't delete my account, obviously. What's that?
I don't even have a Twitter.
Right. No, I know you don't have a Twitter account. I don't have the app on my phone anymore, so I'm not checking Twitter on my phone, and I'm literally only looking at it when I'm sitting at my desk at work and setting up podcasts. I'm trying to like reduce my Twitter usage, so I did not see the thread. Rob C at Rob_E_30. If you could be a professional driver in any form of motorsport, which would you choose?
Because I would learn to love, I would love to learn the skill set and the physical conditioning. It would be Top Fuel dragster. Like,
I was not expecting that.
That's the one thing that scares me. So it'd be like incredible to overcome that and to be able to process everything. Like I have the utmost respect for those guys and girls because that's one thing I'm just like really would not throw myself into and just be like, yeah, I could do this. Like, I feel like any other form of motorsport, like I could acclimate to it and I could be okay. Right. With coaching, with teaching, with hard work, with conditioning, physical conditioning. Like, I think I could drive, not necessarily be competitive on a professional level, but like, I think I could survive behind the wheel of virtually any race car on the planet, except for those things like that.
Right.
It just terrifies me. And it's like, you lose vision, like your retina's detached, like the physical forces exerted on you, even though it's just such a short period of time. It's like the physical conditioning of being a fighter pilot. You have to endure G's that like would render most people unconscious. And
right.
How do you even see when all the blood is like forced to the back of your brain out of your eyeballs? Like,
yeah,
so much of it is muscle memory and just reaction and like not even contemplating or really reacting. It's just like you're just like one with the machine. I think that's an incredible connection.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. Unexpected answer, I think. My initial thought was I'd want to bounce between like Baja off-road racing and endurance racing, like Le Mans, Daytona, that sort of thing. But then I also, in my heart of hearts, my like real super duper awesome answer is Australian V8 supercars. I want to be banging doors, fucking running Bathurst.
I was just going to say, like,
drinking shoeies with Shane Van Gisbergen and fucking, oh my God, those races. The fact that
shoeies come from Australian.
Well, it comes from, Ricardo made it popular, but I feel like he's not the only Australian driver who's done it. So The also so like I don't really care. I don't really care about NASCAR in the but if NASCAR was V8 supercars, I would care and I would watch.
100%.
It's some of the best racing I've ever seen. Some of the best finishes I've ever seen. Like those cars are loose. They're sliding. They're all road courses. There's no fucking ovals. I mean, ovals have their places for some things, but ooh,
you're like a combination of DTM and NASCAR. And
yes, 100%. Yes,
perfect like racing discipline. I'd agree.
And see, there's DTM. There's British touring car, there's V8 supercar, and then there's NASCAR. Like why there's a disconnect.
I gotta give NASCAR credit for this past year and hopefully the next few years and kind of trying new things. And like there's more road courses. Like they drove COTA this year. Okay. They have the Roval at Charlotte. They realize that like they have to expand beyond the oval. Like that model is outdated. It's not bringing in any new fans. Their fan base is dying off or, staying home because they don't want to see a black man win races. Or they're mad that they can't fly their Confederate flags. Literally, this is like a concern. But they ran on dirt. Like the Cup Series ran on dirt this year at Bristol, which was kind of a shit show, but still it's cool. Like, the
idea was cool. The idea is cool. And then you always have
February, they're running at the LA Coliseum. They're running a quarter-mile Busch Class. I don't know if it's a Busch Class anymore, but their Clash race, like the season starting race, is going to be a quarter-mile track inside the LA Coliseum. I'm dying to go to that and see what that's going to be.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so it's like it's still an oval, but like a quarter mile. Like a quarter-mile track is like track and field.
Yeah.
Like you run 400, that's a quarter mile. So to have multiple cars, like multiple lanes, like I can't fathom it. This is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I ran the 400. It's the worst fucking thing to run because you're like, I can't sprint because I'm not good at this.
But you have to,
but I have to run because it's not an 800,
Yeah.
400 fucking sucks.
The worst.
And I did the 330 hurdles. I also did the 330 hurdles, which sucked. Car Bibles at Car Bibles. Hey, Car Bibles. How's the Jag? Does it like to slide? I told you how the Jag is doing. I don't know if it likes to slide. I do know it does brake stands really easily. Yeah. Team Radar Love at Midnight Drifto. This one has been buzzing around my head all week. What's the best period race car to put a 90s Taco Bell livery on? Yeah. I would love it if in an alternate history, there was a Mexican driver in NASCAR. We're getting kind of racist, though.
Yeah, hold on. Wait a minute.
No, I know. But like,
wait, Taco Bell? What's Mexican?
But if they like supported him and it like pissed everybody off. I'm trying to do this in a non-racist way. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like,
I don't think it's racist. I just think it's
no quiero. No quiero. No yo quiero. I'm gonna revise my answer. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm gonna leave in my stupidity. What about like back then the actual when did stadium trucks die out? Like real stadium trucks?
Probably mid 90s because that was
they ran in the 90s, right?
That was a thing in the like mid to late 80s to early 90s for sure.
So if you did some kind of like, yeah, I feel like you could slap one of the real deal stadium trucks, a 90s Taco Bell livery would look super rad on one of those. I can't picture like something Trans Am-y. I'm going with that. That's my final answer because I got to back out of this.
I would say something from the like late 80s IMSA era, either like a 935 slant nose or like an FC RX-7, like the crazy wide body. I think FC RX-7.
Oh, like a Kremer Porsche or something. Yeah. All right. Matthew at Plays with Cars. What's your strongest best?
Random ass question.
It was. I like it though. Well, it's from Midnight Drifto, so that's one of the best follows on Twitter. What's your strongest best driving skill? Perfect apexes, effortless parallel parking, heel toe shifting, Rockford turn, sense of direction, etc. My best driving skill, I think, is constantly monitoring for open lanes around me in case emergency evasion has to happen. And I think it stems from driving older cars with certain braking characteristics where I always know if I can go right or left. If I have to go right or left, I know I can do it, and I know when I can't do it.
Right.
Because other than that, I'm not a great heel toe shifter. I used to be an amazing parallel parker because I got my driver's license in Boston, and that skill has faded. I've never done a Rockford turn, and then I'm okay on a track, so I'm not going to say perfect apex or a sense of direction. So, and then the other one would be off road, to treat the tires with as much love as possible by constantly trying to find the line. Avoiding the rocks and the hardest hits, where I almost treat it like you're driving. I think in my head, I treat it like I'm driving a small boat in an open harbor where there's a lot of waves, and I'm constantly trying to put the nose of that boat to not be slapping the bow. That's what I think about when I'm off-roading a vehicle. I'm like, this is a Boston Whaler, baby. We're doing this. So those two, that's my answer.
That's brilliant. I agree with you. I think my best skill, like I would say, not so humbly, like I am the best street driver that I know. And it's because I'm hyper aware of my surroundings and the speed of other vehicles. And just like you said, like being able to place that vehicle and like kind of predict and monitor traffic and work around that. And like know based on what type of vehicle you're driving, like how far you should lay back, where you can speed, where you can't. Like, I've never gotten a speeding ticket. So that is my, I'm knocking on wood like crazy here, but like, I've driven everything, and I've driven aggressively as hell. I've been on road rallies, and I've never, ever been pulled over. I've never even been pulled over for speeding. It's not like I evaded a ticket. I've never been pulled over for speeding. So I'm hyper aware of my surroundings, and seeing cops and other hazards and other dangerous drivers. Like once, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was riding passenger in a car, and like this car got on the freeway. It was a Mark IV Jetta. This dude got on it was like stock car. It wasn't like, some enthusiast, like, fuckboy driver, but he got on the freeway and he was just like weaving and just like speeding and just being dumb as shit. And this was on the 101 North, up by Universal Studios when I lived up there. And as soon as he pulled on the freeway, I was like, that dude is going to hurt somebody. And 30 seconds later, we're exiting, and that car comes rolling down the embankment right in front of us. And it stopped on 4 wheels, but roof crushed everything. Like, I was like, told you. Like, it was like, I feel like I have almost like a spidey sense about traffic and the flow.
Right.
But besides that, like, like the simplistic, monkey brain answer is just like street drifting, like, being able to slide without going crazy and without detection, without getting caught. Like, I've always had rear wheel drive V8 cars. So just kind of
do a little like, tappy tap.
Like I get to, I know how to have fun with a car without endangering other people, myself, or getting in trouble. So it's like, it's almost reserved. Like, it's like, I know how to have fun, but not too much fun.
You reminded me of a story when I was before I was even in this industry. I was driving home from work I was in the passenger seat. I wasn't even driving. And I was in the mortgage industry. I got into it right as in 2008 when it all went to shit. It was the worst job ever. And we were in the carpool lane of the 405 heading north towards Huntington Beach. And I looked like I could tell like the car behind us was driving really, really, really well. At first he was in front of us. We passed him, and he was by himself in the carpool lane, which is always like, well, what the fuck is this guy doing? And it was like rush hour time too, but we hadn't hit traffic yet. And I'm like, man, I'm going to keep an eye on this guy. And like we separate a bit, and I was with my boss who had like a 5 Series BMW. We both lived in Huntington, so he was giving me a ride home. And I'm just like eyeballing that because like my spidey sense, I'm not driving. My spidey sense is like we've come to a stop in traffic and we've built enough of a gap. but my spidey sense is checking the mirrors. Like I'm looking to the middle, I'm looking to the side, and I turn to him like, yo, that guy behind us is not going to stop right now. And he's like, what? I'm like, dude, we need to get the fuck out of the way. And the guy's getting closer, and he's like, oh shit. We just pull over into like, there's that little sometimes between the HOV and the other lane. Like we had enough room to get over, and he slammed on the brakes behind us, slid past where we were parked and didn't hit the car in front of us, but he slid through where we were. And I'm like, what the fuck? And the guy and the driver's like, all like, oh my God. Oh my, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm like, you didn't see that coming. Like I didn't see the slide past us coming, but that dude was a cannonball. And he's like, he got on the phone. He's like, yeah, there's a guy, he's driving erratically. They're like, yeah, we've had like 7 phone calls in the last 10 minutes. Like we're on our way. We don't. And the guy, like I got to look over at the guy, cause he like slid to a stop next to us. I'm like, that guy's fucked up right now. But that was an example of like spidey sense, knowing your lanes, when you can go, blah, blah, blah. So good question though. Also, Matt, you can pick up your thank you for letting me borrow your fucking, what the fuck is it called? The power washer. God damn it. 2 massed beers in and I'm toast.
Hold on, let me get that right quick before you give it back.
Okay. Pied Piper, Joey Bag of Donuts at Pied P. You're the perfect guy to discuss whether or not the muscle car era will lose its boomer stigma and regain its title as more valuable than 80s cars. 90s cars have some inherent value because of tech that sets them apart, but most 80s cars, unless import, are kind of garbage. You're not wrong that the build quality of 80s cars is pretty dog shit for the most part. Not every car, but for a lot of them. And you're talking to 2 dudes right now who actually love muscle cars, but those aren't good cars either. I don't know what is going to happen with the value of muscle cars. The era of the $1 million Hemi isn't. I mean, I think it's past.
Yeah.
They're still going to trade for a lot of money because those people aren't, to be morbid, they're not dead yet.
Right.
And then their kids still know like, oh, daddy paid fucking $8.95 for 4-speed. That's one of 10, which is, even though it's one of like 9, whatever. It's so I'm going to Meekum in January too. I'm going to see all this shit right in my face. It's going to be great. I'm going to wear like an Omicron mask and be like, ooh, what are your boomers buying? Just to fuck with in Florida. Yeah. God damn it. I'm triple boosted. I'm going to go get like quadruple boosted next for Florida. Or just pour whiskey in everybody's face. Get the fuck away from me. Get the fuck away from me.
Spray them with alcohol.
Yeah, I'm going to do like one of those cat sprays. So I don't know. I honestly don't know where muscle car values are going to go because it's such a weird thing that Mopars shot to the moon.
Right.
Oddly, I think Ford stuff could come back up, like vintage Mustangs, which because there's more of an appreciation for vintage Mustangs amongst younger people than there is the older appreciation for vintage Mopar. I think. I don't know why I think that, but that is a theory I have in my head. I could be wrong, but I feel like Mustangs could start to go up. Well, like fucking.
I think Mustangs have always been seen as like the most approachable like icon of Americana, and it's easily personalized. There's so many options. Like there's always been like almost Lego style options for personalization and upgrades, like performance upgrades. It's like, okay, you can take your 260 out and drop a 427 Windsor in. You can like there's so many plug and play options for engines, transmissions, rear ends, like right. all the mechanicals. So, but I mean, the same is true of the Camaro. It's less so the Mopars. The Mopar guys are more traditionalists. Like they want, numbers matching. They want all their shit the same. And I think that's why they're the weird outliers, and also why their stuff is rare to the point of in excruciating value. Like I don't get that. And I definitely think that market has plateaued.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We won't see numbers.
Beyond plateau.
Yeah. We won't see
but
numbers.
I still can't afford my dream car, my 69 Charger. I like that's still so out of reach. It's crazy. Whereas like I could find a ratty Mustang, but even those are harder and harder to find. And we were talking about Impalas. Right. Impalas are fucking impossible. But
they've all come down. Everything from late 60s and earlier has come down relative to 10 years ago. It's like 60s and 70s trucks have replaced 60s and 70s muscle cars as the new hot ish, right?
Yeah, kind of.
But,
There's still like
dude,
Mustangs are more expensive than I thought they would be right now.
go and look at like I watched the Barrett Jackson top 10 from I think Las Vegas like a few weeks ago. Like there's Broncos, Blazers
Yeah.
that are 150, like $200,000,
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
and I don't think we've seen the peak of that yet, which is crazy. But as far as muscle cars go, like I think resto modding is gonna not necessarily rescue or save the muscle car market, but it will make it appealing to guys our age and younger. The fact that you can buy a complete chassis from Art Morrison, from Roadster Shop, you can buy front clips from Detroit Speed. Like you can update these cars to modern performance for a relatively reasonable price, and like all the engineering is done, and it puts you on a level as a current pony car or muscle car. I think that's what's keeping values high and interest high, is the fact that you can make a cool modern version of most of those 60s and early 70s muscle cars.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point. I skipped this question by accident. Sorry. Detached Garage at detached_garage. Will Chevy sell the new LT6? What's that?
That's a good follow too.
On Instagram, yeah. Will Chevy sell the new LT6 as a crate engine? I mean, they sell fucking everything as a crate engine, but this one might be too new to start, but SEMA 2024, baby. Like, who knows?
They might. I mean, this is the Z06 motor, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So if that's the case, like, Ford never made a Voodoo crate motor, right? They'd sell you everything that went into the GT 350 and 350R motor except for the 180 degree crank. So you could build basically a Voodoo crate motor. You could buy a Voodoo crate motor, but not with the flat plate crank. And initially they said it was to keep it special for those cars and have something desirable that you could only get in that chassis and in that full production vehicle. But as we know, they had oiling issues, they had bearing issues, they had serious issues with those motors. And I wonder if they weren't ever really prepared to offer that as a crate motor because of the issues that they had with production motors. So I wouldn't guarantee that Chevy or GM would make this new flat plane crank V8 available as a crate motor for the same reasons. They want to keep it special, and also they're still figuring out the kinks, and they might not ever really be ready to offer it as a crate motor that has a warranty and does everything that somebody with aftermarket tendencies would do without fail.
I have aftermarket tendencies.
I mean, a Z06 buyer. A Z06 buyer is, not necessarily going to go out and beat on his car. Some of them will, but the majority are buying them as investments. They're not going to beat on them. If I buy a crate motor, if I buy that as a crate motor, I'm bucking it up. I'm fucking revving that bitch out. I'm putting it to the test.
I've grown up being taught that I should love production cars, but lately I have aftermarket tendencies. That's the title of the episode, Aftermarket Tendencies. I got to remember that. Aftermarket tendencies. I gotta write that shit down. Hold on, let me write that down. I used to do this too in the older episodes. In the middle of the episode, just write down the fucking titles because that's a good one. Last question on Twitter before we jump to Instagram, and then and we're almost out of here. You guys are asking tons of questions, which helps us out so much. Another one from Matt Valbuena at Plays with Cars. I shouldn't have said your last name. I'm sorry. If you were Johnny Cash and building a car one piece at a time, what Franken car would you build? Montero body with Maybach interior, Ferrari drivetrain, Altezza Tez lights. I don't have a desire for a Franken car right now. I have one looking behind me. That's kind of a Franken fucking car. My Mercedes, I just wanted to be done someday. I don't know how to answer that. I don't have one in my head. I don't have a good answer for this question. I'm going to let you take it.
Man, I don't know. I mean, I have so many automotive perversions that I could think of dozens of weird combos like that.
Well, that's what Forza is for, the video game, because you can swap engines and do all that shit.
I don't know, man. Like I've seen some cool stuff even at SEMA this year. There was like a Tesla powered C10. Like
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I didn't love the execution of that, but I feel like most people think that electrification is still, I don't know, like hearsay. Like it's like ruining a classic car, something that's especially known to have a V8 to.
Yeah, I know. Like, what if you did like like an electric Ferrari F40? People would fucking like. Some
Yeah,
people would literally die.
yeah.
They would literally die, and I'd be
Which
like, you know what? I'm kind of.
actually reminds me of our buddy Abimelech. He, his crazy renderings, like he's done like lowrider McLaren F1s with
The Cobra he did.
like 15-inch Daytons. He just did a AC Cobra or Shelby Cobra on Dayton.
Lowrider stuff. Oh my god,
Crazy
it's so
paint.
good.
Like something like that would be cool. Like it wouldn't even require like much of a drivetrain swap, but like just doing something like that, combining different build styles, super unexpected.
Yes.
Like that's probably where I would gravitate.
Right. No. That yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, like a lowrider, fucking front engine Ferrari or something like that. Yeah, fuck yeah. Yes, I'm down with that. So we're jumping to the phone for Instagram questions. Digitali, who's on the podcast? Haha, not the question you're looking for, I imagine. Ron is, and I am. I don't have a good answer for you. Type R Kelly, what would be the ultimate MTB trip on your bucket list, and what fun car are you taking on the trip? I've never done Whistler, so I'd really like to do Whistler. And if I'm going to Whistler, maybe an electric Porsche Cross Turismo. And then if you could go beyond that, then you get into like France and Switzerland and all that shit. But I'll say Whistler and I'll say an electric Porsche. And Ron, what's your bucket list mountain biking trip?
Mountain biking. Anyone that I can survive.
That's a good answer. That's a better answer than
anyone that's short enough and at low enough altitude that I don't die.
Okay. On the beach. Abel Mech, our friend Abel Mech Design. What do you think was the best design phase for Cadillac?
Oh, easily late 50s. Like 57, 58 Eldorado Buretts with the stainless roof.
Good answer. I was gonna like just do a general 60s, but your answer is probably better than mine.
Listen, I want a mid 60s Cadillac more than anything. Like
right.
I had a 70 Coupe de Ville that was like total Long Beach bro flat brim style back in the early 2000s, but I've always just been in awe of the late 50s because that was when they were up against like Lincoln, whatever it was, like the Mark V. It wasn't even a Continental, right? Excuse me, it wasn't a Lincoln, it was a Continental. Like when they were brand, like there was serious content, serious technology, and like they spent tons of money, and those cars were priced like Rolls Royce back then. Like they were outrageous. So
they were priced like the Cadillacs
late
of
50s.
The world. Yes,
standard of the world.
Another one from Abel Mech. Oddball VWs, Beetle RSI or Phaeton W12 to daily. So there was a point where I always thought it'd be funny to have an HPA tuned Beetle because
they were like 500 horsepower, right?
It's a street destroyer. Nobody expects it, and you have a little flower vase in the dash, and you're like, "See ya, bitch." So as a younger person, I would have said the Beetle RSI. As a 41-year-old, I'm going Phaeton W12 with maintenance records,
right?
Because that'd be a nightmare.
I'm going to go the opposite because that shit is just so unique. I had to look it up to be sure we were talking about the right thing. But yeah, it's like the wide body, like almost like
wing.
Almost like GT3 version of the Beetle.
Yes, it is.
And it's insane that they built those. And it says they only made 251. But that's just a silly thing that like most people would probably think is just like a body kitted.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like just like some Nopi specialists, like some teenage dream, but I'd probably go for that now just because of the rarity and the subtlety of it. But a Phaeton, like, you say with service records, fuck the service records. Like, like who's gonna maintain that thing now? Like,
yeah,
with the factory warranty, sure. Now, absolutely not.
Factory warranty, yeah. You pull it into a modern tech, would be like, what?
Well, no, I mean back like new with the factory warranty. Yeah, like I would take a chance then if I could afford it, but not now. No way.
And it's funny. I just thought of I never see the the last generation of, I don't see Beetles on the road at all anymore.
Mm-mm.
Like, they're all gone.
Yeah. Well,
California is a fickle state.
how many of them were diesels? Like, were they
Well,
swept
not
up in
that
diesel
many. I
or
mean,
no?
they're when the Beetle was like being sold, they were, they were just mingling in traffic, and I never see them.
Yeah, I agree.
They're gone. Sigatsky, is the new Civic Si a $10,000 better driving experience than a Fiesta ST? The interior is modern and has the modern amenities that the Fiesta ST does not. The seats are much better than the Fiesta ST seats, and I think the driving experience, it might be better. That's the actual driving experience is the tougher part, but as a car, it is definitely a better car. New Civic Si is really good. Anthony Day.
Hey,
will our kids be able to drive old gas vehicles to high school and college? And he does a little crying emoji because he's a little bitch. No, I'm sorry, Anthony. Yes. The gas cars.
Say that to his face.
They're not going away. Actually, I can show you. Which one's Anthony's? Anthony's is this one with the little emoji, sad face. Yeah. I'm sorry. Anthony's our mutual good friend. Yeah. In 10 years' time, their gas cars aren't going away that soon. So
I think we'll see. I personally think we'll see like Europe, like gas prices, like. Gas is so much more expensive over there, which most Americans don't realize. And like, this whole I did that, let's go Brandon shit. Like, get used to it, motherfuckers. Like, whoever the next president is, gas prices are going to go up continuously for the next 10 years. So if you want to drive a gas powered car, you're going to pay dearly for it. That's just what it is. So it's like, with everybody going to electrification, I welcome it. Fine. Everybody else drive electric cars, and I'll even daily an electric car. Like, I'm not above that. Like, I'm welcome it.
I would love one.
But especially, it sounds weird to say this, but especially in California, like, I don't see the availability of gasoline. I don't see, them banning internal combustion engine powered vehicles. Like, we're at least 10, 15 years behind Europe. Like, they're taking some of those steps, but they don't have nearly the, I guess, romance with the internal combustion engine and vintage vehicles as we do here in America. Like, that's just not going away. It's going to become much more expensive, and that'll price a lot of people out, but it's not going anywhere.
No, we have a long way to go before you're not going to see, like, we'll be dead. We'll be dead before they're gone. Sean B 316, favorite East Coast beer which is not heady. Now, heady is a type of beer from Alchemist Brewing. I know it's a me question. Alchemist Brewing in Vermont. And I was going to joke with you and say Focal Banger, which is another beer from the same brewery, but I'm going to say anything from I think pretty much anything from Treehouse is pretty good to go. I'm aging Utopia upstairs in my closet that I'm going to drink 10 years from now to see how that goes.
Man,
it just came out. I
think I could hang on to anything for 10 years.
Because I bought 2 bottles of it, and which was really dumb because it's really expensive retail, and I got retail, thankfully. It's like $2.50 a bottle for beer, but it comes in a copper bottle, and it's closer to cognac. And it's funny because I hate cognac. I just don't like cognac. And
sipping on yak.
And I've even had like some of the most expensive cognac you can have, the Louis 13. I didn't like it, and I had a second sip because I'm like, I'm just drinking money at this point. And I was like, this is fucking gross. Let me give me another one. Ew. Like, because they were free. I wasn't paying for them.
Right.
Because those are like $1,300 a bottle, like restaurant cost or some shit like that. But
I think it's way more than that.
This was
retail.
This was like 2003, so maybe even now it's
way more. I promise.
So this was like the restaurant cost. I think was $1,300 a bottle.
We're talking tens of thousands of dollars a bottle now.
Oh, okay, that's like yeah.
I have a Louis 13 story when you're done.
So I had 2 bottles of it. I drank one slowly over time. I don't put it in a fucking pint glass. You drink it. Not ice cubes though. You don't put ice cubes in it. But I forget the ABV on it. But it's very high. It's somewhere between 20 and 30% alcohol. It's and they only do it every so often, but they released it 2 years apart, which is really weird. And I'm wondering if it's like killing the value of the one I have upstairs. But I bought 2 because my buddy back in Boston was like, "Yo, I got one for you." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, get it. I'll Venmo you." He's like, and then he went back to the store. He's like, "Yo, they have another one." I'm like, fuck, buy it, and I'm gonna drink it when I'm 50, or like, which is a gross sentence to say.
Yeah.
Like, I actually almost threw up in my mouth a little bit because I want to cry, piss, and shit myself when I say I'll drink that when I'm 50, because that's an actual conversation I can have now.
Yeah, I think you are like me. You're closer to 50 than 30, right?
Yeah, I'm 41.
Yeah.
So I'm aging one. That's to get back to the point, not your point, the point of the question. I'm aging a Utopia, which is not the best beer. Heady is the best beer, but Treehouse is amazing. So there you go. There's your fucking answer that I took too long to answer. Pretty cool project. If you had to start a brand new podcast tomorrow, which platform would you use? We're already on a different platform. Right. This is on Anchor.fm, which delivers to Spotify, to Google, Apple, all the shit. So we are on we're not on Shout Engine anymore. The funny thing is, I think when I upload these to YouTube, because I have to upload them separately, I think it's kind of killing my YouTube channel. It's the first time I've ever seen my subscriber count go down.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe you should create a separate account for the podcast like Fair did.
I know, but we used to do the podcast on there and it wasn't as big a deal. Maybe I just am not as good at YouTube as I was never good at YouTube.
I'm ugly. That's the problem.
That one guy likes
don't want to look at me.
That one comment like every time is about how you say like all the time.
I do. Is it the same guy? I haven't.
It's the same guy.
Still?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got to interact. I got to go in there.
My adult friend is back saying the word like again. I'm like, Ron says like. You know what? Let's deal with it. Trixie Doggram, thoughts on the new WRX? We already answered those. P.S. Thank you for bringing back the podcast. Always look forward to it. Thank you for saying as much. Ron, if you have questions, line them up.
I have one question from. There was a couple, but they were jackass questions. And I'm not going to answer them. But one of my friends / followers. I hate to think of anybody as followers, but he had a question. Jaked Up Car Art, he said, are four-door sports coupes really just sedans in denial?
Yes.
And I would agree with you in the case of your CLS that you did. It's a thinly disguised E-Class, right, with just less headroom. But I think the original the original CLS was sexy and it was different, but it was still just less headroom. But like our new, you know what? No, fuck what I was going to say. You're right. Yes.
So remember today at lunch.
There are some great performing cars in that segment, but yes, they are
4-door sedans.
They are. That's what they are. Yes.
So remember today at lunch where my daughter said, my daughter came to lunch with us today. And this is so funny that you bring this up because this ties into a conversation we had at lunch. My daughter said, my daddy said a swear the other day. Well, because my daughter was in the car while we were shooting video.
Totally ratted you out.
Which is fine. She's a snitch. We're trying to teach her not to be a snitch.
Right.
We're teaching her the rhyme and everyone. Well, we're not. But so we're shooting the CLS. My daughter's in the back, and I say, "Cover your ears," and because I'm going to say a swear. And she's like, "I can still hear you." But I said, I went on a rant about people calling these things coupes.
Right.
Because they're sedans. They have 4 doors. They're sedans. They're sedans with shitty roof lines.
No, they're coupes as far as interior headroom. Like,
doesn't matter. Interior
volume, they are coupes. They're 4-door coupes.
4 doors. Doesn't matter. 4 doors. They have 4 doors.
I've always, like, I don't know. That's where.
That is a sedan. However, the thing that made me go extra pissed off about it was I went to price one out on the Mercedes website and I hit the drop down menus and I slide over to sedans and it's not there. It's under coupes. and I'm like, this is it's a shapely sedan. It's a sedan with it's almost like a fastback sedan. If they called them fastback sedans or liftback sedans, I'd be like, yes.
Well, Audi calls them sportbacks.
They do?
That's
and I'm fine with that. They don't call them coupes.
They differentiate between sedan, Avant, and sportback.
Right.
So that was the point that I was going to make is that I was thinking more in terms of performance and and in my case, an S7 or RS7 performs light years beyond an A7, right? So it's like it's not some staid sedan.
You know what doesn't make the difference in the performance? The door count.
I get it. But like let's say the front doors were longer and the rear doors open suicide. Would you call it a coupe? Same roof line, same interior space.
I would call it bullshit because I hate those doors. Like the Veloster door is the dumbest thing ever.
Right.
Like that car should just have 4 doors. You know, it should either be 2 or 4.
Right, but that's still a hatchback, right? So like an Audi is still a sportback. Like it doesn't have a trunk. It's it's a hatch. So
right.
I was thinking of that in making my argument.
I get it.
But the CLS is just a squat sedan.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
So to me, sedan or coupe has nothing to, in my head, sedan or coupe has nothing to do with performance. Yeah. It's literally door count. So that's why it drives me absolutely fucking banana. Like that's why I swore, I told my daughter to cover her ears. Cause I'm like, and I've never done that in a video with her where I'm like, cover your ears. And then as soon as she did it, she's like, I heard what you said. I can still hear you. I'm like, I don't care. You've heard worse.
Yeah.
Like way worse than I said asshole. Because literally I'm on the website and I'm like, if I was a non-car person, I'm like, oh, I just saw a lovely, and the badge said CLS. I'm going to look that up. And I go on the Mercedes website. Oh, it had 4 doors. I'm going to click. Oh, maybe they don't make it anymore. Like, it was under coupes. I wanted to punch my screen. I wanted to punch my screen.
I really think it's based on interior volume, that designation. But every manufacturer takes liberties. So
I hate it. This is a touch point with me. We've clearly triggered.
You're more vested in this than I am.
I hate it so much.
Okay.
And I know Jake's up car too.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to end this on a big disagreement. But you had a great idea.
Because like I said, I kind of give and take. Like I get your point. I get it. I was approaching it from a different perspective, but I don't disagree with you. It depends on the vehicle, honestly.
Does it? So we're gonna
because a sportback, a hatchback is different than a CLS.
Yes, like a hatchback. Yes,
I can put a set of 22-inch wheels mounted on tires in the back of my S7, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure the newer model is even more voluminous inside, but that's a difference in utility.
Yep.
Yes. People sit in the back seat comfortably. Like
you're right. Yeah, because the CLS is a little less trunk.
Maybe it's not a 4-door coupe, but it's clearly inspired by the CLS. But like the BMW 6 Series Grand Coupe, now the 8 Series Grand Coupe, like they're like we're not even talking about them because they just suck. Yeah,
fucking hate it. So you had a great idea for the next episode, which would be the last episode of 2021, because we're riding this bitch right up to the wire.
Is it going to air in 2021? It won't, right?
No, it won't. So we'll have to position it that way. We should just do this one as the end of the year, but we didn't think ahead because I don't know how to do podcasts anymore.
I did.
You had a great idea. You had a great idea. You really did. We were gonna do
whatever.
We're gonna do an in-person show.
Like who knows what the fuck 2022 is gonna bring us? So you can't really have a 2022 launch episode. It's like,
well, what if we do it? Will run in 2022.
Yeah,
we can wear like fucking Happy New Year's hats. We can say like things we were happy about or grateful for in the industry, and things we're looking forward to in the following year.
I'm not looking forward to anything because I'm not holding my breath for anything because we're about to have another wave of shutdowns. Like my office is already working from home until next year, and that's shit. Whatever. What's today? The 22nd. So the next like 9-10 days. I don't know, man. Maybe we'll get our shit together in 2022, and I don't mean you and me. I mean us collectively as a country, as a world collective. Maybe.
Nope, not going to happen. But there'll be a great podcast episode to listen to. On that note, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Stop recording.